Okay, welcome everybody to this evening's XAUUSD Securities webinar. My name is Duncan Cooper. Tonight's webinar is live Forex market review, so let's get into that. First up, if everybody can read through the disclaimer. For those on our YouTube live stream, I cannot see the chat, but you're more than welcome to watch. If you want to join us in the webinar so you can talk to me, just follow the link that I've given you there. For those in the webinar, the chat box and Q&A boxes are open, so you can talk to me using either. So just taking a moment or two to read through the disclaimer, please, before we move along. And while you're reading, where I live, we're having a very strong storm at the moment. So if I do disappear, I'll just log back on and come back in. But whether you can hear it in the background. All right, let's move along. Now, for those that don't know me, my name is Duncan Cooper. I'm a senior market strategist and trading mentor here at AUDJPY Securities. And I am a full-time Forex trader. I've been trading almost 20 years in the Forex market and mentoring for more than 10. If you want to contact me, my email's there, duncan.cooper@acy.com. Through the week, you can connect with me at our website, acy.com, go to the market news tab, or at AUDJPY Securities Australia, our YouTube channel. And if you want to connect with me personally, just head over to my Linktree page and you'll get my links there. If you want to get access to the charts I'm using, just contact Nathan.bray's emails at the bottom there. And for those in the webinar, I'll put his contact details in the chat. All right, so let's get into the news for the day. First up. So we're into Thursday today. We've already had the Bank of Japan data. I haven't actually seen the headline of what they said from the recent monetary policy statement, but what I am noticing is we are seeing a little bit of strength coming into the yen. At 10:30 p.m. tonight, we have the Canadian GDP month-on-month, the US core PC price index, so that's an inflationary measure, and then the US employment cost index, QQ, unemployment claims. Before we get tomorrow's job figures, all right, so tomorrow we have 5:30 p.m. Swiss CPI month-on-month, and at 10:30 p.m. for the US, we have average hourly earnings, non-farm employment change, and unemployment rate, followed by at midnight into Saturday. These are all my time, Queensland time, ISM and manufacturing PMI data. So this will give us a sense of maybe what's going to happen tomorrow from this employment unemployment claims figures. And of course, the core price index will give us a little bit of an idea about slight inflationary figure here. And if that upticks, the question is at the moment, will the US be further cutting by 50 basis points by the end of the year? I don't know if we will, personally. So tonight's data and tomorrow's data is going to be volatile at those times, so be aware of that. With that in mind, let's get to the charts. Now, what we are definitely seeing, this went on the dollar index. We're seeing a little bit of a pullback. Euro dollar, which forms at least 50% of the dollar index, has put in a higher bottom top at the moment. We're not able to have a week up, but we are seeing a little bit of covering as we lead to job figures in the election next week. So just because we maybe move down here a little bit, putting things in perspective on the weekly scale, we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks up, with this week being negative as well. And in all probability, we can't have a week down this week because we'll have to sell off a lot to have a week down. So what we're seeing on the day chart is we're just getting up close to an area of resistance and seeing a little pressure, people covering. And we might see a break of this low, but then, if we get any positive news, we then maybe coming back up and further moving higher. So I'm not getting too excited. If we start to see a lower top forming on this index on the day chart, then we may see, a pullback within the range of this move up. All right, but at the moment, I think there's just a bit of profit taking ahead of next week's election. Then we'll have to wait and see, is this any kind of significant top, or it's just a short-term top and we're actually going to be maybe moving up towards the top of the range longer term as we head into the end of the year. By the end of the year, could we be at the top of the range or above? All right, so we're just seeing a little bit of profit taking at the moment, I think. All right, let's get into S&P 500. We're pulling back today. Whilst we're not in stock market's not trading at the moment, we are pulling back to the area of support that the buyers would want to see held. So this is the buy area. It's 57.68. And we have the 62% level there at 57.55. So that would be the area to watch today if you want to be a buyer. Can you see a lower time frame set up to trade up? The 4-hour chart at the moment is a bit overextended to the downside here. So we start to see a 4-hour reversal or even a lower time reversal. We're just trading back down to last month's high area. So once we moved above here, and we did test it there, you can see we have a heavy rejection back up. Are we going to see another rejection down in this area to move back up? All right, so let's get into euro dollar. So euro dollar, just from a weekly perspective, I know there's lots of lines on here, but we've moved down and broken a low here. So the weekly trend is down, and I don't think we're able to at the moment have a week up. We've traded up to the higher last week. So this week we may just manage to have a week up. We have broken this low here as well, but we haven't committed below it. So we're just having a bounce at the moment. And as I was saying before, when we're looking at the dollar index, we have put in a higher bottom to a higher top. Interestingly enough, though, it's in the profit taking phase now of this movement up. If we're going to continue up, we probably need to then pull back and put the next leg in. All right, now that high there was last week's high. And just to prove the point, we've pulled back and we've hit the 127 extension up here, which runs into, if we move to the 4-hour chart, that's the high of last week here. 108.71, and we've been up to 108.71. Just the exact highs on these candles. And that was 108.70 and 8, and that was 107.70 and 7. So we haven't actually had a week up. We've come up very close to last week's high and couldn't break it. So quite clear the sellers are watching that price point, and we're at the 127's extension area of the opposite move up. So we're very high up within the most immediate move up. So personally, I don't know what the US news will bring today. We might just get enough volatility to break last week's high, but as I've just been showing on the day chart, we're extended. So I personally would, if I wanted to trade the more dominant trend, the weekly trend, which is down, and the movement that we're having up at the moment is maybe just short term, I would definitely want to look at last week's high up here if we trade up there today. So that's at 108.70. Let's call it 108.71. Do we test that area? If we were to break through that area on news volatility day, I would look up at 108.81, which is resistance, and up to 10900. I'm still very much, just back to the daily, that's that 108.81 level here. This has been a very dominant trend down here. And this minor correction at the moment doesn't get me too excited about things changing. Nothing can go down for weeks and weeks and weeks without at least having 1 week up or maybe 2 weeks up. So we'll have to wait and see how much of a correction we get. All right. If I wanted to get long, I would need to measure this daily range here. move to my 4-hour chart, and monitor for a dip down into the 62% level overlaps with the 108.10 level, one old level of support. That would be a buy area to watch for, and also down at 107.77, the weekly support level. All right, if I had the frame of mind that I wanted to get long, those would be the buy areas. But I just think we're having a minor correction at the moment in the long-term scheme of things. And, we're at the end of the month. So we've been down all month, except for this little period here where maybe some profit taking leading into the end of the month. All right. So I think just watching to see if we get a reversal up here. Again, on a test of last week's high. Euro yen. So we come down to support. I'm pretty sure I said on Tuesday, watch price to maybe come down to supports. We've already bounced on it a little bit earlier today. 165.01. Is that going to hold? Trend is up on the daily. All right. 4 hour is down because we're hanging a day down on the daily, but we're getting support at last week's high in day support. And I would watch closely for, over the last hour, we've come down and double bottom down there in the 15-minute chart. I would watch for now, if this, wherever this tops out on this movement up here, let's say it could break that high there, then look for a pullback to the 62.79% zone of the range that forms here, and look to see if you can get long with, there's a bottom, there's maybe the final bottom. Do we put in another bottom here somewhere, and can you get along moving back upwards? All right. Or do we come back down again? Yesterday's education lesson was watching the figure. I said yesterday, watch 165, I'm pretty sure. I said, well, we're going to fail at 166 to move down to 165. Now, ultimately, we moved above, but we haven't moved back down to 165. I said, that we previously broke above, it became support there, would it offer support once more? All right, so if we do revisit 165 today, clearly that's already proved to you twice that the market wanted to hold down the 15-minute chart. Will it hold again there if we retest it? To move back, and then targeting back up to the top at the moment. Euro pound, with the euro moving up yesterday and the pound moving down, then the euro pound's had a very strong spike up. It's back up to weekly resistance. This area here. So it's well worth watching. We've already hit that level today on the day chart. So it's 83.82 for our chart. Do we come back up to retest and fail? Lots of 4-hour highs here to the left. The 15-minute, I would watch that range. Watch this area. Resistance, 79% level to resistance. So 83.75 to 81. Do we come back up into that area today? Hold and fail on a retest. Pound dollar. Now, yesterday I said watch the figure 130 in the figure lesson. I said if we traded down, watch the next day to come up to 130. Now we've actually only got up to 129.99. We could still trade at 130 today. So we're a little bit range bound at the moment. It was very volatile, the pound yesterday. It was traded down, traded all the way back up to the high, and then pretty much traded all the way back down. Now, getting a little bit sideways here. The market's just asking itself, can we now really commit below 130? And can we be coming down to actually hit this weekly high over here at 128.93? We got a little bit short last week. 4 hour price action is not great, but of the rejection up there to that low, we haven't quite, we've almost had a 62% rally. Yesterday, we actually traded down, traded all the way back up, and then pretty much traded back down again. So I'm just going where the dominant trend is the day, weekly trends down. So I'm looking with the ethos of looking to sell a rally. I know here this could be classed as a higher bottom, but it's been that zigzaggy here. I would just go with the higher time frame trend. Now the 62 level. So when the US news comes out, 62 levels there, 130.04. So I would look at the figure up to 130.04. We've also got last month's low in there. So we've been zigzagging around the last trading day, above and below last month's low. But we've been down all month. So I would look to sell rallies. Primary there, I would say, was 130 to 130.04. Now, we may have already had the rally and we can't get to that area, but it's well worth watching that level later in the day to see whether we can come back up to one small test, that 130 level. Pound yen. To the daily. Now, trend is up, higher bottoms to a higher top, further higher top. A little minor pullback in this area, and really prices this day down here that we're having today is filling that gap that was created on Monday. And if we move to the 4-hour chart, the minor pullback I was just discussing on the day chart is that low up to that high. So the gap's been filled. We've had a 79% retracement. And yes, we could still move further down, but we've had a little bit of buying pressure coming in just ahead of the 79% level within the pip 2. That to me would be the area to watch today if we further come down. So there's 197 I would watch later when the news comes out, 197 to 197.12, the 79% level. Do we come into there, hold, and then move back up? All right, day trend is up. We're just having a day down. The market's been getting a little yen strength from the BOJ statement today. Aussie yen, it's come down on the day chart here. It's rather mixed. The big highs and lows, that's the higher bottom to that bottom. We have a lower top to that top. It's a bit rangy. I've been saying watch this area at 99.85 for support. Pretty much trading down to that area today within the pip. So that is the buy area at the moment. Certainly the area to watch is last week's low, which we false broke. So that's definitely the buy zone at the moment, 99.85 to 100. All right, so for those that were with me yesterday with the figure lesson, we're seeing quite a number of figures being tested today on Euro yen, Aussie yen, pound, dollar. All right, so is this going to be support today to move back up the range? Very range bound Aussie yen. So do we hold here to move back up? Can we see a further test into this area? You know, if you start to see on the 15-minute chart structure showing you an uptrend, we'd need to, you know, have a higher top yet, or at least a higher bottom. So if we can get a higher bottom forming, so we may come down to match this bottom, form a little 15-minute head and shoulder pattern. We start to see that down here, then are we going to see a move back up? It may be holding at 100 in general terms to move back up to 101 where we've been failing, just short of. All right, Aussie dollar. I did sell down yesterday after the CPI data, then had a day up, and we're just holding at this low at the moment, not being able to commit below 65.58. Any upward movement at the moment. This overall trend is down here. So even though we had a positive day yesterday at support, I'm not getting that excited that we're putting in a major bottom. We need to move back above this area at 66.22. First of all, before I get any excitement about moving up. So I would watch for a move back up to here, 66.22, and then can I see an opportunity to get short? We've been down all month. Yesterday, the day before the last day of the month, we have one positive day here. So yeah, 66.22 is only 52 pips away. Not even sure we can get there. I would watch, in actual fact, let's go to the 4-hour chart. What I noticed was from this 4-hour range movement down, we had a 79% retracement. So we may not be able to get up to 66.22. That's last month's low. It won't be last month's low tomorrow because we'll have a new one, but I would watch 6600 to 6622 if we get any news rallies. Okay, looking for an opportunity to get short. Other than that, what we'd need to see at the moment to get short, I think, is a clear break below 65.58. We'd need to see a move below here. And then we want to see 65.58 be resistance for the next move down. Okay. Now, over the next week, if we do start to see a day chart higher bottom form here, well, maybe we are putting in a bottom in, but at the moment, it's too early to tell. So until I'm seeing something that really tells me we're getting a trend change, all I would be looking for is to sell a rally. Just want to drop to 15. At the moment, today it's very flat. Not really getting committing to the upside or the downside at the moment. We really need a bit of news volatility to come in. And, if we could get up to the figure, that would be great. But at the moment, and the figure up here at 66, last week's low was at 66.005. So market is quite happy to be committing below 66 and last week's low, but at the moment it's rather flat in here. So getting back up to that area, that would be a very potentially strong resistance area for the day to trade back down from and position yourself to the short side. All right, New Zealand yen. This is how I've had it marked out for predominantly the last couple of weeks. There's resistance, there's support, and nothing's really changing. This is very range bound at the moment. And I will just look to the outer boundaries, looking for sales at 91.95, the opportunity to buy at 90.09. And maybe the range over the next couple of trading days will get even tighter, even smaller, okay? Until we see a clear move one way or the other. All right, New Zealand dollar. So I've been using this as my primary broken level of support at 59.84. And what we are seeing on the candles over the last, including today, the last 4 trading days, see how we're getting shadows at the tops of all those candles. Whilst we're coming up to test that level, maybe trade above the level, we are not closing above the level once we close below it. So Friday, we closed below and we've been really holding below at 59.84. So 59.84 up to 60. We discussed 60 in yesterday's figure lesson. Pretty much failed there yesterday at 60. It looks like resistance now. Are we going to be holding rallies at that level to move down to 58.49? As I've been saying on the weekly, we have this long-term weekly range. And are we moving back down to the bottom of the range? All right, for our chart at the moment, rather flat in here. We're just holding it last week's low. And the 50-minute chart really, like the Aussie, it's not doing much. In a perfect world, if we get a bit of a news volatility spike today, looking up once more at the 600 level, 60-100 level up here, right? Would be ideal. Even tomorrow on the non-farm payroll. Okay, other than that, you could watch the 59.84 level. Today we haven't been able to get there. You can see yesterday we were intraday. Once we got back below here, it became resistance. So if we don't get any volatility in the news, and we do manage to get up to that level, that is the selling level at the moment, but volatility in the news would be up there at the 60-100 level, okay? So 59.84 first level, higher level is the 60 level. All right, dollar CAD, which has been exceptionally strong. And we did put in a negative day yesterday. You can see there on the day chart. Now, what has been happening today and yesterday, even though we had a negative day yesterday, is what was happening. If you go to your weekly chart, this high over here, 138.98 has become support intraday at the moment. Even though we had a negative day on the chart, when you get into the lower time frame, you start to see that 138.98, that weekly high, so pretty much the 139.00 level. Market is wanting to be bought at that level, which to me tells me that maybe we are going to see a challenge of 139.46. Like, you know, can we break that level? And then the next level up here, 139.77. So predominantly kind of a little bit of reversal that we're seeing on the dollar index is more from the fact that we're seeing the euro US dollar put in the higher top, higher bottom at the moment, because other pairs versus the US dollar aren't maybe trend changing in the moment. All right, so dollar CAD, can we break 139.46? What I've been saying on the monthly chart is that we have, whilst we've been rather range bound, we did move up to a higher top here, 62% retracement to a bottom. So are we going to break through all these highs to the left to come up at least maybe to 127 extension? If we get a clear breakout after a large area of consolidation, we could be getting up much, much higher. Maybe we need to know what the result of the election is before we see a clear breakout. But we have long-term consolidating on the monthly chart, so we may well see a very strong break higher from the range that we've been in. Or we're either going to see a strong break higher, or we're going to fail at the top and then move back down. All right, so we did see a rejection, but you can see today we're positive once more, and we're holding above that weekly level of support. 4 hour, we are lower bottom, but we haven't put in a lower top yet. If you're very negative up here for the dollar Canadian, you could actually be looking for some form of reversal. I mean, that could be a left shoulder. We've moved to a lower bottom. Head, we're going to come up opposite that shoulder there to trade down. All right, so if you're on the sell side, let's just drop to the 50-minute chart. You want to be looking opposite that shoulder, which is pretty much where that 79% level is. So around about the 139.30 level could be the sell level for the day. That was that left shoulder there. Let me just draw it with my other tool. There's your left shoulder. Are we going to see a failure in this area here today? Or are we just going to continue higher? So I'm more bullish at the moment. I think we might be seeing a break higher. Here we're getting support. So, if we were to buyers, this is the buy area down here at 138.98 to 139.00. It's been proved once already. So if we revisit that area, we could hold. We get some volatility from the news and we come down into this area, that could hold for the buyers. And this area could be, could be heavily watched for the sellers at 139.28 to 139.30. All right. So those two sides of the market. So those would be the areas to watch. But let's not forget where the dominant trend is at the moment. It is up on the dollar CAD. All right, dollar franc, which has for 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 days here. It's going nowhere. I've been waiting to see if it can come into the support area. That's my technical level at 86.07. But it's very range bound. I would leave that alone at the moment until it started to show nicer price action. But from a technical perspective, support, trading in line with this. We had consolidation breakout. Now we're going a little bit flat. Do we pull back to broken resistance to be support at 86.07 for the next opportunity to buy to move up? Keep them, does the movement keep moving up? Dollar yen. So of course, we have the BOJ information, policy statement, etc., coming out today. We are having a negative day today. Structurally, on the day chart, until we break this minor low here, we're still holding an uptrend. There is the question that, well, are we topping at the 62% area from high to low? Interesting, this 151.94 level where we've traded down to today. Of course, we haven't broken that minor low there. This level is the level of the 22 and 23 highs. So quite clearly today, even though we've been trading down, the buyers have been watching those two highs and held the market there. So that one piece of information for me means we've just come down to fill the gap got formed on Monday and support's coming in there at the moment. Until we get a clear break below there, I really couldn't get that excited about getting short. If we broke this minor low here, and that minor low is at 151.45. So if we were to come down and then rally back up to the 22, 23 highs and hold, then I can get excited about getting short. Other than that, I think the 22, 23 highs is support that you should be watching. So that's that minor area that I say needs to break. There's the range. We've been down to the 79% level, overlapping with those old highs, the yearly highs, and we've had a bounce intraday at that level. Now we may revisit that. That's definitely the level to watch today. Do we revisit that level? So it's 151.94 to pretty much 152. Do we revisit there today when the news comes out from the US? And do we hold? Because if we retest and hold once more, that's the clear buying level to see if we can move all the way back up and continue the trend up longer term. All right. All right, getting into a look on gold. Still keeping on, isn't gold? What it is doing on the day chart, it's very strong. So in very long moves, minor pullbacks. 27.58.41 is support. So that's the area to watch now for support intraday. All right, there's a weekly view. Very strong. Daily is very strong. You know, that's the breakout area of that high there. So I would expect that area to be respected now by the buyers if we pull back. Difficult just looking at the 4-hour chart because it's a little range bound just where it is. But I would just, general terms, could entertain that range there for a fib. Let's move to the 4-hour chart so we can look at it in more detail. We're going to have some volatile times, I am sure, over the next week. All right, if we are going to be pulling back over the next day or two, yes, most definitely 27.58. That's going to be watched for support intraday, or a quick move into this area. 27.30 down, 39 down to 22.70. Sorry, 27.39 down to 27.26 would be the fib zone to watch. All right, so I wouldn't, if we are going to move down in this area, I wouldn't look to short because it's such a strong trend. That would just be the most preferred area to watch for the price to pull back to correct, and then look to buy a dip in that area. All right, let's just head back to the euro to see what it's doing. So everything's rather quiet at the moment. It's waiting for the next US news to come out later in the day. These, over the last, it's only trading in like a 10-pip range over the last couple of hours. Pound dollar. Well, pound dollar doesn't look like it wants to get back up now to 130. So if we do get any news volatility over the next tomorrow, I would watch 130. It's interesting at the moment. The pound is, even though the pound went down yesterday and then all the way up and then all the way down, is a lot weaker at the moment than the euro dollar. Because the euro dollar's put in a higher top, higher bottom. The pound can't do that. So most definitely, any rise back to 130 or close to today would definitely be the area to watch. Aussie just starting to move down a little bit, but it's just being a seller here. We've got support here at 65.58. We're only like 8 pips away from support that's holding at the moment, even though we're in a downtrend. Back to your day chart here. You don't want to be selling right on top of that low, because we could come down to that low today, hold, and just bob back up. We need to see a clear break below that level. That's why it would be great. After I said on Tuesday, we had about 5 days down. Now we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's been 8 days down through this period. It would be great if we could have that was it. We did have a day up yesterday and a day down. But if we could have 1 or 2 days up, back up to a higher level, 6622, 6600 would be perfect. As I said on Tuesday, I might well take myself out of the market before next week's election. I'll just have to wait and see how we're looking as we're heading into the job figures on Friday. But we're just getting into a little bit of a volatile window, as we're certainly heading into next week's election Wednesday. Anything could happen once that election starts to occur. So don't always have to be in the market, or unless you're in positions where you're in long-term positions with long-term profit, then it's not so bad. But if you're in short-term trades, could be highly volatile as we have the election. And of course, post-election, if we have the same result of the previous election where Trump lost and he didn't think he'd lost, and we have another little civil war going on. So be very, keep yourself abreast of what is happening in the US over the next week. And it doesn't matter if you're not in the market for a week, if you're having to wait for certain volatility to surpass and a clear direction of what's going on. All right, so I'll leave you those thoughts. So don't forget, we do have US news tonight. We actually have Canadian news at 10:30, GDP month on month, and then the US core PC price index, employment cost index, and unemployment claims from the US. And of course, the job figures for the US tomorrow evening. All right. Or if you want to join me next week, I will be doing webinars next week on Tuesday and Wednesday. Analysis on Tuesday, the 5th. And I will be doing the Fibonacci tool, price roadmap, on Wednesday, the 6th. If you want to join me, the link is at the top. So just head over to the link, register your interest, and I look forward to seeing you then. Other than that, have a great rest of the week trading. Be careful of the news events and the election, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, everybody.